films of that
You
5
fuck
years,
with
bro. I
that?
appreciate you.
OTL, fuck what you talking about?
Okay.
Why you say it like that for? Come on, get your picture, man, before you get beat up.
Oh, wait, my phone.
Stream spin.
I'm 4K Dre.
Who?
Rakai, what the fuck, man?
You said what?
It started like any regular late-night stream. Cameras up, fans crowding, phones waving, and a Memphis star soaking up love while moving through a packed room with that calm confidence he's known for. Then a fan tossed out a comment that flipped the temperature from cool to blazing in seconds. A woman said she didn't rock with Lil Durk, and you could see the whole vibe shift in Pooh Shiesty's face. No more casual smiles, no more playful energy, just tight shoulders and a look that said, "Watch your words." Loyalty isn't a caption to him, it's policy, and in that moment, he showed it without a single bar recorded. Right after that, another clip surfaced where a streamer dialed in and passed a phone around like it was a joke, with someone claiming 4KT, which is NBA Youngboy's squad, and the room got tense fast because that phrase isn't just letters. It's a line in the sand in today's rap politics. Pooh played it cool and acted like he didn't even know what the initials meant. But make no mistake, everybody knew he knew exactly what that meant. He just refused to acknowledge anything tied to that camp on camera. And that's a statement louder than a diss track when you live by codes and not comments. Ignoring a name isn't confusion, it's dismissal. And in this industry, dismissal is disrespect by design. This wasn't clout chasing or random chatter. It was loyalty in motion, because to understand why he moved like that, you gotta understand who stood with him when the walls closed in and the industry got quiet. When a person keeps your name alive during your darkest hour, that's family in a world where family gets chosen. That's why folks said this wasn't really Pooh vs. Youngboy. It was loyalty to Durk vs. everything that stands across from that movement. And those are stakes you don't shrug off for PR or playlists. The music is the billboard, but the bond is the blueprint. So the clip kept circulating, people kept dissecting the tone, and the message stayed simple. He wasn't bending, he wasn't switching, and he wasn't acknowledging anything that could be read as friendly across the line. In a room full of cameras, he spoke by what he refused to say. And that's where the live moment turned into a cultural moment, because streams aren't private anymore. They're archives, they're receipts, and they're how the audience tests who you really are when you think you're just vibing with fans. One blink, one phrase, one smirk, and the whole timeline jumps. What looked like random fan banter became the spark of a bigger conversation about where Pooh stands, who he stands with, and what he's willing to sacrifice to keep it that way in public and in private. In this climate, silence can be louder than smoke. To the casual fan, this looked like messy drama, but if you know how this world works, you saw something else. A man protecting the one person who never left his side when the floor dropped out from under him. Durk didn't treat Pooh like a feature. He treated him like family when the charges hit and the calls stopped. When most of the industry backed up to avoid federal eyes, Durk kept saying, "Free Pooh" into microphones, on stages, in interviews, and in city after city like he was carrying his brother on his shoulders through the noise. That's not marketing, that's a vow. And vows don't evaporate when the comments get spicy. So when a fan tried to score internet points by dissing Durk in his face, Pooh didn't take it like a joke, because disrespect toward family gets handled on site. Even if handled means drawing the line with words and energy, not hands and headlines. He didn't have to shout. His look said, "Watch your tone." The streamer stunt only made it clearer, because the 4KT claim turned the room into an instant loyalty check, and Pooh chose the only move that fits his code. Act like the name never existed and refuse to give the other side an inch of recognition. In this game, acknowledging your opponent is free promotion. Fans love to stir the pot and see if they can pull artists into live stream traps, but street rules don't bend for chat trolls, and Pooh showed it by keeping it calm while still making the message sharp enough to cut through the noise. He didn't go off, he cut off. Every artist talks about loyalty, but not everybody pays the cost that loyalty demands when the spotlight gets hot and the politics get messy. Pooh didn't flinch, because when someone carries you while it's raining, you carry them when the forecast looks rough too. Durk visiting Memphis, Pooh touching down in Durk's world, the trust to pull up on each other's blocks. Those aren't photo ops, they're oaths. And in neighborhoods where territory equals safety, That level of access means you're under my roof like blood. You don't fake that kind of pass. That's why this wasn't a random flex. It was a man honoring a bond in real time, under bright lights, with fans pushing buttons just to see if they could make him flip. He didn't flip. He froze the play and walked off with the same stance he walked in with. People who only see the charts miss what keeps a crew steady when careers wobble. It's not algorithms, it's honor. And honor shows up when somebody tries to poke it on camera for views. The stream was a test, and he answered without spelling it out. This friction isn't isolated, it's part of a bigger map where Chicago culture and Louisiana culture carry different codes, different losses, and different legends who won't be disrespected. When those histories collide, nobody gets to pretend it's strictly about songs. Durk and Youngboy represent two powerful movements with passionate crews who move like families and fan bases who treat comments like commandments. One post is a spark, one lyric is a signal, and one silence is a stance. Everything gets read like scripture in a digital courtroom. So when Pooh makes his loyalty known, the internet calls it a choice, but inside this world, it's not optional. Stand with the person who stood with you, full stop. If that means you inherit his enemies, then you inherit his enemies, because that's the price of calling someone your brother. Memphis adds a third flavor to the stew because Memphis isn't a shadow of anybody's city. It's its own powerhouse with its own rhythm, codes, and legends who taught a whole generation how to move. Pooh isn't switching cultures, he's aligning bonds, and that's different from being somebody's sidekick. Social media supercharges all of this, turning slight reactions into viral verdicts before an artist can even blink. A raised eyebrow becomes a paragraph, and a clipped sentence becomes a headline that won't die, with narratives getting written by people who were never in the room. The sad part is how real pain gets turned into timelines because both movements carry names of fallen friends, and that weight makes every line feel like a memorial or a warning depending on who hears it. This isn't cosplay, it's memory, and memory makes people protective. That's why neutrality gets treated like betrayal in some circles, because standing in the middle feels like standing nowhere when your brother is catching shots online and off. Pooh chose a side because the person he owes is on that side, and that's not confusion, that's clarity. Fans will argue about who started what and who should calm down, but the rules of this world are older than comments, and if you step into that universe, you have to play by a set of values that don't apologize for being strict. Here, loyalty is the currency, and switching is bankruptcy. Let's talk about that "I don't know what 4KT means" moment, because that wasn't ignorance. That was strategy wrapped in loyalty, and it landed heavier than 1,000 spicy bars. Choosing not to acknowledge a rival camp on a live stream is like sliding the chess piece without touching the board. In this era, even nods get screenshot, so Pooh's refusal acted like a firewall against clout bait, because the second he says the letters, the clip becomes a face-off, and the debate turns nuclear. He denied the oxygen, and without oxygen, fires choke out. But choices have costs, and he knows that. Youngboy's base is a machine, and it rides hard for its leader, which means anyone who looks like an op online will feel digital heat and maybe closed opportunities offline too. That's not fear talking, that's realism in a business where alliances are invoices. At the same time, loyalty to Durk opens doors that don't open for everyone. Features, stages, cosigns, and fan goodwill that doesn't fade when the algorithm shifts. You can't stand in two rooms at once, but if you pick a room with a strong foundation, you might outlast the trend. This is where people confuse maturity with neutrality. Pooh didn't throw fuel, but he refused to play friendly for the stream. And that balance is rare when cameras are hunting for viral reactions to every little nudge. He kept it calm while keeping it clear. The fan moment mattered because it showed he'll protect the house even when the jab looks harmless. And that's how you avoid letting disrespect grow from a whisper to a chorus. Nip things early, and you won't have to swing later. What most folks forget is how federal cases change social distance. People get quiet, numbers stop calling, and your name becomes a risk on other people's spreadsheets, which is why the person who keeps shouting your name becomes a lighthouse in a storm. You don't dim the lighthouse to please another ship. So when the streamer tried to turn slang into a storyline, Pooh flipped the play by turning the storyline into silence, and in a culture where everybody's talking, silence can be the loudest clapback. He didn't dodge smoke, he starved it. And if that means he carries a few more enemies in the comments for a while, so be it. Because in this league, staying true to the one who stayed true to you is worth more than trending for 24 hours and losing your compass for life. Lines matter, and he drew his. Streaming changed the battlefield. It turned backstage hallways into public squares and made private reactions into permanent tapes that can crown you a hero or drag you as a hypocrite in minutes. Artists aren't just recording music. They're navigating live trials every time they go online. That's why a simple fan comment about Dirk triggered a flash of emotion, because it wasn't just about a preference. It was a pressure test to see if Pooh would protect his bond under bright lights and tight angles. He didn't sugarcoat. He stood tall for his brother. The streamer prank was the second test in the same night. A casual "I'm 4KT" tossed into the chat like a pebble that can avalanche into a headline if you let it, and Pooh shut the slope down by pretending not to hear the rumble. No reaction, no traction. Fans love to poke and measure, and some are just playing. But the results aren't games when reputations travel faster than corrections, which is why experienced artists learn to say less while saying exactly enough to make their message land. He made his message land without feeding a frenzy. But there's a toxic side too. This constant testing can force artists into corners where being loyal means carrying conflicts they didn't start, and being neutral gets labeled fake even when it's just an attempt to keep music first. The room gives you 2 doors and calls it a hallway. Pooh chose his door, and that means some rooms will lock while others open because cosigns come with shadows and friendships come with opposition in a business where proximity equals politics. He's not confused about that. He's committed to that. Memphis adds a unique flavor to the decision because the city breeds standalone energy. They don't chase waves, they set them. And Pooh's alignment with Chicago reflects gratitude more than dependency, which is why it reads like honor, not clout. He's not hiding behind Dirk, he's standing beside him. So the conversation becomes bigger than him. It becomes a mirror for the culture asking whether loyalty should always trump strategy and whether artists should be allowed to lay down old smoke even when the audience wants the bonfire to keep burning. The answer isn't simple, because the rules aren't gentle. And until the rules change, fans will keep testing, streams will keep capturing, and artists will keep showing who they are in the little moments that never feel little once the clip hits 1 million views. The new arena doesn't have walls. It has timelines. Every bond comes with a bill. That's the math of this culture, and Pooh decided he'd rather pay in potential features than pay in dishonor to the person who covered him when the industry looked away. That's not a stunt, that's a stand. Will some doors get harder to open because Youngboy's movement is massive and protective of its leader's name and brand? Possibly yes, and he knows that. But loyalty to Dirk builds a different house with different keys, and sometimes one solid house is better than 10 shaky rooms with cameras. Stability beats spectacle. People will ask if this stays in songs and streams or turns into something heavier, but the wise move is always the same. Keep it music, keep it business, and keep it respectful while still keeping your line clear so nobody confuses maturity with surrender. Calm doesn't mean soft. For Pooh, the blueprint is simple. Move smart, stay loyal, and don't allow bait to become battles, because not every microphone deserves a monologue and not every comment deserves a counterpunch. He answered the test by refusing the trap. This is bigger than one moment on a stream. It's a snapshot of how modern hip-hop forces artists to choose visibility and values at the same time, with every reaction becoming a press release and every silence becoming a thesis about who you are. That's pressure you can't see, but you feel. If the price for standing with the person who stood with you is carrying his smoke too, then he said it without saying it. He's willing to carry it, and he'll carry it on camera if he has to, because that's how oaths work when your word is your warranty. A promise is a contract. In a world where switching squads for comfort gets you temporary applause and permanent side-eye, choosing the long road with your day one earns a different kind of respect that doesn't trend, but doesn't break either. Quiet respect lasts longer than loud approval. So the path is set, the stance is public, and the room is watching to see if the energy stays on wax or tries to jump the gate. And the smartest play is the same as it's always been. Let the music talk while your actions stay consistent. That's how you keep your soul and your story.